10 SAT questions on representing and interpreting functions. Think you can ace them all. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support the team's conclusion? Option A. Artifacts K5106 and K39 were exposed to temperatures above 400 degrees C. Option B. Artifacts L5239 and K318 were exposed to temperatures of approximately 550 degrees C and 650 degrees C, respectively. Option C. All of the artifacts were exposed to temperatures above 100 degrees C. Option D. Artifact K39 was exposed to a higher temperature than was artifact K5106. The correct answer is B. Check the description for the full explanation. Which choice most effectively uses the data in the graph to complete the example? Option A. The rise in copper production in Michigan slowed from 1,902 to 1,909. Option B. Montana and Arizona produced more copper than Michigan did in 1,909. Option C. Fewer than 100 million pounds of copper were produced in Arizona in 1,889. Option D. Copper production rose significantly from 1,889 to 1,909 for Arizona, Michigan, and Montana. The correct answer is D. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support Ayalou and her colleagues' hypothesis? Option A. The control plants contained higher levels of zinc than iron, but plants exposed to kanamycin contained higher levels of iron than zinc. Option B. Both groups of plants contain more than 200 parts per million of both iron and zinc. Option C. Zinc levels were around 300 parts per million in the control plants, but nearly 400 parts per million in the plants exposed to kanamycin. Option D. The plants exposed to kanamycin showed lower levels of iron and zinc than the control plants did. The correct answer is D. Which choice most effectively uses data from the graph that support the student's assertion? Option A. Between 1970 and 2000, the median age of first marriage rose more sharply for men in England and Wales than it did for men in the United States. Option B. In England and Wales, the median age of first marriage was consistently higher for men than for women between 1900 and 2000, but this was not always the case in the United States. Option C. The median age of first marriage for men in England and Wales was lower in 1970 than in 1950 or 1990. Option D. Between 1900 and 2000, the median age of first marriage for women in England and Wales was consistently higher than for women in the United States, as was the case for men. The correct answer is A. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support Meng and colleagues' conclusion? Option A. The ultrafast robot hand and the Yale Model T each weigh more than 450 grams. Option B. The ultrafast robot hand and the Yale Model T each weigh more than the permanent magnet hand does. Option C. The Yale Model T has a lower holding force than the permanent magnet hand despite weighing more. Option D. The ultrafast robot hand weighs only slightly more than the Yale Model T does. The correct answer is D. According to the text, why does the narrator consult some family photographs? Option A. He wants to use the photographs as inspiration for a story he is writing. Option B. He is curious about how his father dressed a long time ago. Option C. He hopes the photographs will help him recall what his aunt looked like. Option D. He wants to remind his aunt of an event that is shown in an old photograph. The correct answer is C. Want the full breakdown? It's in the description. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support the student's claim? Option A. The percentage of newly installed turbines with rotor diameters greater than 130 meters increased every year between 2011 and 2021. Option B. In 2011, nearly 80% of turbines installed had rotor diameters of less than 100 meters, whereas only a little more than 20% of turbines installed that year had rotor diameters of 100-150 meters. Option C. No turbines installed in 2011 had rotor diameters greater than 115 meters, whereas the majority of turbines installed in 2021 had rotor diameters greater than 130 meters. Option D. Most turbines installed in 2011 had rotor diameters of less than 100 meters, whereas most turbines installed in 2021 had rotor diameters of at least 115 meters. The correct answer is D. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support Charles and Stephen's claim? Option A. At each point on the political orientation scale, high information voters were more likely than low information voters to vote. Option B. Only low information voters who identify as independents had a voting probability below 50%. Option C. The closer that low information voters are to the ends of the political orientation scale, the more likely they were to vote. Option D. High information voters were more likely to identify as strong Democrats or strong Republicans than low information voters were. The correct answer is A. Which choice most effectively uses data from the graph to justify the underlined claim? Option A. The newspaper published approximately 1,000 investigative articles in 2010 and approximately 500 in 2019. Option B. The smallest annual number of investigative articles published in the newspaper during the period shown is approximately 1,600 in 2013. Option C. The greatest annual number of investigative articles published in the newspaper during the period shown is approximately 1,000 in 2017. Option D. The newspaper published approximately 1,000 investigative articles in 2010 and approximately 1,600 in 2013. The correct answer is A. Which choice best describes data in the graph that support the researcher's conclusion? Option A. In every year of the experiment, plants treated with the nitrogen fertilizer had a yield of at least 30 pounds per acre. Option B. In every year of the experiment, plants treated with the nitrogen fertilizer had a greater yield than did plants treated with the control fertilizer. Option C. The 2018 yield for plants treated with the control fertilizer was greater than was the 2019 yield for plants treated with the nitrogen fertilizer. Option D. The yield for plants treated with the nitrogen fertilizer increased from 2017 to 2018. The correct answer is B. Perfect score. No cap, you actually cooked on this one. Drop your score below. Subscribe, new mission tomorrow.